I don't like when the room is hot.
Hey, guys.
That's funny. I like half the time when I'm walking around in the morning, I'm like, ooh, Bonte's on a heater today.
Well, that's that happens every day.
I thought you love heaters.
Hey, Gabe, heaters, baby, heaters. Apologize. I apologize.
Blame it on me. I know you like the little Akon mix-up in there.
That was good. What's up, Willard? What's up,
How we doing, boys?
What's going on, fellas? Yeah.
I got an apology, but I'm going to save it for later today.
Why?
Bring it out now because
You want me to do it now?
I've never heard
Tell me it's
Bonte
not the
laugh
Giants.
I've never heard Bonte laugh so hard as when they were reviewing the Giants today, and Bonte is just roaring at the offseason. And all I could think about was what you're going to do today.
Well,
and I actually mentioned it in our pre-show video how the truck will be backed up a little bit.
Oh.
I was so proud of you when I was off because you called them chicken salad. You called the Giants chicken scratch.
I did.
You came very close to actually using the word chicken boat.
Chicken it.
Chicken little?
Chicken it.
Chicken-ish.
Chicken.
He called the Giants chicken salad, and I was like, oh, my God, I wish I was working today. I'm so proud of you. And yet today, here we come.
Well, you don't know exactly what I'm going to say, though.
I'm looking forward to it.
Are you apologizing to the Giants?
Well, you could use whatever words you want. Here's what I'm going to say. Because I know that the majority of Giants fans are accurately still
Disgusted.
well, I don't know what the word is, but uncomfortable with the offseason. And we're all uncomfortable with the offseason. That was not a great offseason.
Not according to Farhad, what he said December 30th.
I heard that.
What's he going to say? What's he going to do? Is he come out and be like, yeah, I think
no one wants to play here because of the city and the politics.
I think our team
That's what he
stinks.
said originally.
Yeah, he said some things this offseason that I don't think ended up coming out well. I think he regrets them. I think he was trying to say that. That's all obvious. This offseason was super uncomfortable. It was a ride that nobody expected, and they have absolutely ended up on paper as the third or fourth best team in the division, and that was not the plan. And so there are still all kinds of questions that remain, especially until Correa's deal is finally done. And everybody will forever have questions about why this came down to the last second. Why is he getting dressed for a press conference? And that's all fair. However, I don't care what anybody else wants to say about the offseason of the team. I said a couple of things that I would like to walk back.
What are they?
Well, first of all,
Or if you want to wait, that's fine.
No,
I apologize. I don't want to ruin your
I'm
show.
fine. No,
you tease.
No, I don't mean to do
you
that.
can't ruin this show even if you tried. No, sure, calling them chicken bleep, and the number one thing that I said over and over that day
so good.
was that the Giants are risk averse. And I don't necessarily feel that way anymore based on what happened next.
Michael Conforto?
No, based on what's happened next with Carlos Correa.
Let's real quick on this.
At a minimum, whatever it was that they saw on this scan, which we all said was an excuse to get out of paying money, whatever they saw on that scan is actually there. There's something. I think we've got to give them that.
Mark.
Well, we're just, but spotlight that. I'm in a tunnel right now.
Okay.
I'm walking back my own comments.
I hear you.
No?
No, but
something that they saw on the scan is now, that's a thing.
Okay.
No?
You don't think Aaron Judge has some stuff up in his left shoulder or something on his knee? Like David Sampson, who ran the Marlins for years, was basically saying that every single baseball player, by the time they become free agents at 30 years old, there is stuff every. Why are you shaking your head?
Because I think this is way bigger than that.
What do you mean?
To have two teams walk back a
second-
$300-something million contract
They're not walking it back.
does not mean that they have a little something in their shoulder.
Mets haven't walked it back yet.
The Mets.
What's that?
This is what's going on.
The Mets are
This is the hypothesis.
They haven't walked it back.
They
paused it.
And as I said, I'm not going to there are many questions that will sit at minimum until we know what does happen next. Although I did read the report this morning from Ken Rosenthal that says it's probably still the Mets, but man, this contract's going to look way different than what you think it's going to look like.
Well, I mean, it's not like he signed
and the
a
Giants
4-year
couldn't
deal.
have had a deal that
Exactly.
looked way different. Instead, they invited the guy to town, and then they pulled the plug on it, and they ran to Michael Conforto.
Again, you're good. Now you're coming down a road. I'm
not coming down your road. I'm coming down their road.
You can, and that's all fair. I'm walking back my own comment that this was a risk-averse move.
Okay.
Where they
that's
said...
in the weeds. That's in the weeds.
It's not in the weeds.
Well, for you, that's an apology.
It's literally the key to the whole thing. We accused them of using something fake on a scan to get out of money because they got spooked.
No, we're mad because they didn't sign anyone of significance.
And that's fair.
And lost
and they have
pace.
been risk averse to sign anybody of any significance
Exactly.
ever.
See,
and they're not in that situation.
And with that, I disagree.
Well,
I disagree.
The facts, the proof is in the pudding. They've never signed anyone to a longer than a 3-year deal.
But that doesn't make them risk averse.
It absolutely does.
No, it means they haven't been effective in getting it done.
Well, and they could have gotten it done.
The offers are on the table.
They had the pen in this man's hand, and then they went to chicken salad, and then they pulled the plug. And one of the 3-year deals that they signed
by the way, you're listening
is
to
a guy that they had to pay to leave, Tommy
KGMZ-FM in
LaStella.
San Francisco. Always live on the free Odyssey app. Download the Odyssey app and favorite 95.7 The Game for the best and most up-to-date sports coverage. And don't forget that you can also watch us every day on our YouTube and Twitch streams. Just log on and search 95.7 The Game. Be sure to like and subscribe to the channel while you are there. Again, December 30th. So I just go back to Farhad Zaidi. In a lot of ways, this offseason is an endorsement of the fact that there are a lot of players who want to play for the Giants, that want to be in California, that want to play in the Bay Area. And they want to play for Gabe Kapler, that want to be part of the organization. I mean,
I don't know anything about that. Come on,
you're apologizing to this?
No,
to this friend,
you know what? You guys are right. I probably should have saved it for later because what's going to happen now?
I don't care what you do.
Three people are going to bring up your other frustrations with the Giants, and you're going to direct them at me. And I'm not talking about any of those things.
No, we're not.
I'm talking about my specific comment that was clearly unfair, that made it sound like they saw something on a scan that wasn't actually there. They made up a big story so they could get out of $350 million, and now another billion-dollar industry looked at the same scan and also got spooked.
But it's the way you do it, Mark.
No
it's
doubt.
It's the way you handle your business.
No doubt.
You look unprofessional, you look foolish.
And you're absolutely
and then
right.
you turn around and sign Michael Conforto, who ain't played in a year and a half.
Well,
who's also a Boris agent and was at the bottom of the barrel and literally didn't play at all, and I'm sure his shoulder will approve.
Although that was another one. Like how many people said that day, the Correa day, well, that's the end of them dealing with Boris. He now hates the Giants. Took about, 27 hours?
Oh,
and they made a different deal.
Got his client a deal.
Right.
Said, I see a sucker. I found a sucker.
Well,
I know a sucker.
We'll
Let's
find out
sucker
about
these
that.
suckers.
We'll
and they
see.
suckered the Giants.
We'll see.
Are they a better team today?
7 suckers, by the way.
Than what they were to end the year?
Can't say yet.
Bubba says
I don't know.
yes.
I don't know.
Your guy Bubba said yes.
My buddy Bubba
You
said
played
yes.
at 7 o'clock.
He said solid.
Go through this rotation.
He also said they're going to
lost.
rely on Jock Peterson.
You like that.
My immediate answer would be on paper, their rotation is worse and their lineup is better. That's what I would say. I don't know if it's a better team.
Their lineup is better?
Harold Reynolds went on a big thing on MLB Network yesterday saying he thinks this is a way better team than it was last year.
Conforto didn't play last year. Mitch Haniger played like a handful of games. And I like Mitch Haniger.
Well, what does that got to do with this year?
They're the worst defensive team in their own division.
They're better this year than they were last year.
No, they're not. They got the second best
This season
shortstop.
as a starter.
But how do you know they're not?
Because I know Tyrell
they're better
Strada
athletes.
without the shit
They got
isn't
better
as
athletes.
good. I know Tyrell Strada. Their starting third baseman right now is Wilmer Flores. He is not a third baseman. He can't throw.
Hey, listen.
Not their starting
Listen,
third
Mark,
baseman.
when you say they're a more
Then who
athletic
is their
team,
third baseman?
hold on, Shasky. When you say they're a more athletic
lost
team,
Longoria.
that's not a high bar to clear.
No, it's
they
not.
may have been the least athletic team in all of baseball last season.
100%
Were they
correct.
marginally better?
100% correct.
Gosh, with the 25th most athletic team in baseball.
Listen, you asked me a question and I answered it like it's close. And that's not good enough. They needed to be way better. And they're on paper they're not.
They lost one of the most dynamic left-handed power arms in baseball and in their own franchise history, just looking at the lefties. And like you're looking at a short list, Kirk Reeder, Sanchez, Bumgarner. It's not a lot of lefties that have had success here in San Francisco, right? He's had one of the signature years, and you have no number 2 starter in arguably the toughest division in the National League.
If you're upset about the roster, you've got no argument from me.
But I think that's most Giants fans aren't going to do the leg injury. They're just looking and going, wow. We're not better than we were last year. Last year was rock bottom, and you said we were going to add. There's nothing.
I'm totally with you.
My hot take on the Giants is this. I think it's a better roster than last year. Despite missing out on Correa, despite losing Rodon.
That's a hot take.
It is a hot take, but I think the Giants are sneaky better than last year.
Vergasian, how did he say the guy's last name?
Matt Verse. What was
that
that?
Francesa?
What was that?
Francesa, that last little piece was Francesa? Yeah, I like sneaky better. The Giants are sneaky better. I don't even know what that means.
And then Harold Reynolds in the background goes, that's a hot take.
That's a hot
basically
take.
saying he doesn't agree with that.
Yeah, and so it wasn't Harold, it was Matt. I watched the segment I watched. I said the wrong name. Yeah, it was Matt. It was Matt. And they were talking with JP Morosi, who actually, JP Morosi also was on that segment.
Yeah, buddy, he said they added depth.
Yeah,
they're going to rely on Jock
Here's
Peterson.
the frustrating thing on the Correa stuff. So this is where I'm at. Like, so okay, they
Come
didn't
on,
get
man.
him because
Why
of the
are we
ankle.
spending so much time on this laughing stock of an
Because
organization
I want to say
right
something
now?
real quick.
They
didn't get him on
Giants
the
are a
ankle,
joke, dude.
but they missed out on Bogarts. They missed out on Swanson. Like, this was the year if you were to shore up the shortstop position, and if you look at their farm, Luciano doesn't project to be a shortstop. Like, this was the year. Brandon Crawford, based on most ratings, 22nd best shortstop last year in baseball. Now, a guy who's a year older, without the shift, is going to be playing shortstop, and he's the third or fourth best shortstop in his own division. Like, they're not a better defensive team, and they missed out on some premier players because of the Correa fiasco.
totally. They put all their groceries into a bag, and then the bottom fell out.
And then Sabian
That's why you got to
left.
go double bag.
Yeah,
Double bag.
so I mean,
You carry from the bottom.
And
So
Joe,
good.
like you're not wrong, but I'm going to, and you guys can yell at
No,
me
that's
for
fair.
it
We're not-
a
we're
year
not-
if you want to me, if you want. I am going to acknowledge something was on the scan that they did not anticipate, and neither did the Mets. Like, I'm going to acknowledge that
So-
because
the Mets
that's
are
being
still gonna
because
sign
that's
him, right?
maybe we don't know.
Someone's
posted a
going to
picture
sign
yesterday.
him.
It's been 2 damn weeks.
And instead of
And
them
if they
finding
do-
a way to still sign him, they just invited him and his family to town and pulled the rug
Well,
out from under him.
and
And,
we can-
that
and-
to me is a bigger issue than because someone's going to sign him.
I don't
You
disagree.
look at the year he
I don't
had last
disagree.
year. Someone's going to sign. He's
I
going
don't
to play
disagree. And
baseball for someone
And why
this
aren't
year.
they renegotiating with
Well,
him?
it's important, I think. Like, this is a part of the story that's not been told
Exactly.
yet, and it's a question that will be asked later. But I thought it was interesting when they were asked, "Okay, are you getting back into negotiations?" Farhan didn't say we don't want to. He essentially said they don't. He said, "I think Correa is focused on other teams
Well, what
now."
Scott Boras said immediately in the aftermath was he didn't hear from
Exactly,
the Giants for
which
a
is his
long
side.
period of time, which is for his
Which-
side.
which-
And next
yeah,
thing you know,
which I
he
don't-
calls to Hawaii.
I don't think
Stevie
that's
Cohen's
accurate.
well, we don't know what's accurate because we've only heard one side, and we haven't heard Farhan come out and really say. Now, he can't talk about the medicals because of HIPAA,
Yep.
but he could come out and say, these are all the things that we did to try to save the
Exactly.
deal.
I think-
but what he did was he laid silent for 12 days,
But how do
and then
we
he
know
came
that-
out with a
via
nebulous
Zoom.
non-answer.
How do we know?
Zoom.
How do we
Via
know?
Zoom.
How do we know that they wanted to save the deal?
Well, we don't know anything, and
Right.
that's the biggest problem.
That's why you need to
If
talk
you're a
about
Giants fan, the
If
biggest
they-
problem
listen,
is you don't know anything
they all
about
went
what the
silent.
Giants
They
did.
all went silent.
All you know is
Farhan-
that the Correa family came to town
Right.
ready to celebrate a massive deal. Something popped up on the scan,
I mean-
and 12 hours later,
Look,
he's a New York Met
it's-
in theory. And now
in
the Mets
theory,
Farhan's
are
been
still
quiet.
dragging their feet
Larry
on something
Bear's
with
been
the scan.
quiet. That entire organization's been quiet.
Nobody said
Where's Larry?
anything about
Especially
how
what
it
about
went
this?
or what they
about
tried
this?
to do
Hold
to
on.
save the deal.
Brian
Mets have
Sabian.
been totally quiet.
Brian Sabian.
I mean-
executive advisor to senior vice president and GM to Brian Cashman now. Sabian's never, has he been honored around here? A plaque, Wall of Fame, one of the greatest GMs in Bay Area sports history, just walks out the door? And we're quiet about that with a little statement. Everything is a statement with the Giants in a Zoom call. They're hiding. They're staying quiet. Larry Bear, Farhan, we don't hear from them. Or you get a news dump December 30th at 2:45 on a Friday when everybody's out getting ready for New Year's. It's been a disastrous offseason for the Giants.
It's all fair.
disastrous.
It's all
Sabian
fair.
walks out the door. Where's
Brian
Larry?
Sabian tomorrow, 10:30, by the way, Willard and Dibbs.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
Would I ever joke?
Wow.
Brian Sabian?
That's a great
You
guy.
can see
Brian
me. I
Sabian's
jokes
going
around a lot.
Oh,
I love
Oh,
Sabian.
that's appointment
That's
radio
it,
right
yeah.
there.
I'm gonna hit him
10:30?
with an early saves. Yeah, 10:30.
Gotta hit him with the Sabian saves.
Well,
Gotta hit him with the Sabian saves.
you know, Mark, here's the one thing
What,
that I think
what
is...
did they do wrong? What? I'm sorry. What'd you say?
No. Here's the one thing. Like, I'm very frustrated. Like, okay, I remember distinctively this offseason when the Warriors didn't land Dwight Howard.
God.
Oh,
I
God.
know, but because of the
See?
process. But because of the process, they expedited, quickly pivoted, and made a ridiculous trade to get Biedrins out of here and bring Andre Iguodala in. Because they dragged their feet with they had to because of the Judge thing. You had all your eggs in a couple baskets. What ended up happening is you missed out on all these other people. This is like when you're home shopping, and if you're just solely focused on one place, you only have one bid in one area. Like, we can argue about the medical and this and the other, and I hear you. What I'm saying is the entire process throughout the offseason has been bungled, as well as the team building process over the last 5 years.
Okay, so let's put the last 5 years aside for a second, because that you bring
that factors into the free agent
but
desires.
that's a different point than what you were just making about this specific offseason. I get the frustration. I totally think that this was an offseason that did not hit the mark. The issue is, though, that when they had signed Correa, a lot of us were satisfied. That was what was promised. That was the number 2 free agent.
Yeah.
And then you sprinkle in these other people around
It looks
Correa,
a lot better.
and the whole thing looks different, right? So in effect, they had a target. They went out and they did it. They did it exactly what a lot of fans, not all, but a lot of fans wanted them to do. And then at the 11th hour, something that made obviously everyone in baseball now incredibly uncomfortable popped up. And so they took a gamble, as all of these things are, and they lost. But as to whether or not this is good, bad, cheating, I mean, are they lying? This is all TBD.
They're just all silent.
You just said Dwight Howard.
Bad.
It's all silent.
But you know
if it was the
Monte?
Niners and the Warriors, we'd be demanding they speak up, and they would speak. The Draymond Green situation happened. Yeah, Bob Myers the next day cried at the podium.
Steve Kerr,
Steph
Curry, they all came
totally
out.
different. It's
Jay
totally
York
different.
firing
No,
Jim
but to
Harbaugh's
his
at the
point
podium.
is they took the immediate road of PR,
Right.
and this
Yes.
Giants front office has
Yes.
done nothing
Right.
in terms of
I've never heard from Larry
assuaging
Bear
the fans
because-
and making the fans feel any way other than
And
frustrated.
you know the cold part is
medical
they were
issue.
all
They're
But you
hiding
don't have to
behind-
come
they're
out and talk
hiding.
about the
Exactly.
HIPAA. All you
No
have to
one
do is
wants to
talk
see
about
the
the
X-ray.
process. All you
Exactly.
have to do is come out and
Process.
say.
Thank you, Dan Dillon.
All you have to do is
Let's
come
not
out and
all
say
talk at once.
there was something about the medical that we didn't like.
They did say
These are
that.
the 13
They did say
days
that.
later.
No, that
in a
day.
Zoom call.
No, Dibs, there was a statement released that day.
After they brought the guy to town. So you're telling me you
two-sentence
finally looked at the
statement.
scan?
Boy.
You looked at the scan the first time and thought,
wish
we're
you the
good.
best, Carlos.
Did you not see the scan the first time?
The Mets have been super loud, haven't they? Chatty bunch, aren't
No,
they?
you've heard a lot, though, from Mets
Chatty,
fans.
right?
Yeah, exactly.
The Mets are just like,
Mark,
wow,
can I-
so here's what's going on. Let us tell you all about what we saw in Carlos' scan.
Well, here's the other-
Certainly,
They
they've
haven't said
done
a
enough
damn
to where
word.
they've
They
done
have-
enough to where their fans aren't like, oh
Yeah.
God, it's Carlos or bust.
Right.
I
They've done
get
this
it.
what
I
this
get
was.
it. I get it.
They
I
backed
get,
up
listen,
their money.
I get
They said they had a blank check and they spent that money. The Giants paraded around like, oh, there's no limits to what we could spend. And the minute they saw a little scan, oh, you know what? $350 million, we're going to back out of this. And we're going to go with these one-year deals with opt-out clauses everywhere for guys like Michael Conforto and Mitch Haniger and
like,
Sean
that's it.
Manaea.
Like,
you guys,
They embarrassed themselves, and they remained quiet.
Yeah.
They remained quiet. Hide behind the Zoom, Farhan.
just like
I've
the
heard
Mets.
nothing from Larry Bear.
Well, no, the Mets-
nothing.
let me get in here, B. On
Radio
the Mets end.
silent.
So-
You can't talk about this.
What do you mean?
You can't.
You can talk about the process that you
No,
botched.
you guys can. They can't, and the Mets can't. They can't fully
Mark,
explain
how
what's
hard
going
is it to
on.
hop to a podium and say, hey, guys, I know this is an unprecedented thing. There's some certain things regarding the medical that we can't discuss.
That's exactly what they've said. Who cares if it's on a Zoom or a podium?
Because it
That's
does.
exactly
The personal
what they've
element makes a
said.
difference.
They-
I do
they-
think
he
it makes a
took
difference.
questions.
Bob Myers sitting there after the Draymond Green punch didn't make a difference?
Again, totally.
You don't think so?
You don't think that
There's a human element.
You don't think that this would have been on that's a totally different scenario. Someone got punched in a practice versus a medical scan on someone who never even actually joined your team.
The guy was in
You
the other
can't-
room waiting to come over with
It's
his brother
so
and his
delicate.
family.
I understand, and the way they handled that, we can question, and you can be frustrated. I get it. I'm only here to say that we have to acknowledge there is something significant in that body going
on that point. So if you read
no?
between, one second.
Can I get a yes or no on
Yes,
that?
but if you listen to
don't
people
know.
that
That's
are
all I
baseball,
need.
We don't
if you
know.
listen
That's
to
all
people
I
that
need.
are
I don't
baseball
know.
people,
Yeah, we do.
David Sampson
I don't know.
says every single player in Major League Baseball has something wrong with their butt. If you are a pitcher and pitch 10, 15 years in the minor leagues, major leagues, you're going to have so much stuff in
Right.
that shoulder. Does the owner say green light it or not? Very simple. That's why a lot of these, Boris, for example, go straight to the owners.
I think this is clearly different.
In the
This is
Mets
clearly
situation,
different.
the Mets went flying above the unspoken $300 million payroll thing. And Major League Baseball said to them, look, there is something with the medical. Everyone agrees with you, Mark. No one is denying that there ain't something going on in the ankle.
That's all I'm here to talk
But what
about
they're
today. That's
saying
all
is
I
that-
want to walk back. That's it. That's all I want to walk back.
Okay,
you get
well,
mad about everything else, and I'm going to nod my head.
Hey,
but
Mark.
I'm going to walk back my own comments that made the Giants look like chicken bleep for backing out of something that was clearly significant.
When D Ford had a back injury and missed the entire year for Kansas City.
And how'd that work out?
It was a great trade.
Was it?
It was. They went to the Super Bowl.
I would
He was the most
disagree with you.
effective pass rusher in the game.
Was very
it was
effective.
a huge risk. They swung it. When they gave Buster Posey, coming off one of the
barely
worst injuries in baseball, a 10-year, $180 million, largest contract in Giants history. With sight unseen, they gave him 10 years, 100. That wasn't risky. That ankle was fully cleared and ready to go.
Why are we comparing that? I mean,
But that's the same organization. I'm using it as an example.
It's not the same injury. You don't know. Like
Achilles and tendon
you're not gonna
and breaking your ankle.
I
We
get it.
don't know what
catcher?
this injury is. Nobody knows what this injury is.
but what we
do
know-
know that he had 22 homers last year and he hit 291.
Yes, but what we also know is that in the idea of signing him until past his 40th birthday, the least risk-averse team in all of Major League Baseball, who swashbuckled from Hawaii and put together a deal in 4 hours, looked at the same scan and said the same thing. Oh, crap. That's what we know. Therefore, I would like to walk back what I said about the Giants being risk-averse.
Okay. They didn't say, oh,
That's
crap,
it.
we're out.
I did not say, wow,
Like the
great
Giants
offseason.
did.
I did not say everything over the last 5 years has been great. I did not say they've been the most communicative because they're not. I would like to not call them chicken bleep for backing out of something that has been proven based on the actions of others to be significant.
Well, the Giants said,
That's
oh,
what I would
crap,
like to do.
give me Conforto. And the Mets said, oh, crap, let's still try to work this out. That to me is a massive Grand Canyon-sized difference
Except for that
in the
is also-
risk-averse idea.
But
that
that's
you're talking
also
about.
be held
Correa's
accountable.
wishes. That also is Correa's wishes based on what both organizations have said.
And how both organizations probably proceeded in the immediate aftermath
No
to the
doubt.
discovery of the scan, where
The handling of it, those are fair questions.
So
and we
here's what
still
I
and I
have
think it speaks to your risk-averse thing
Yes.
that I love that you said before, because the Giants, to me, are still massively risk-averse, having never, under Farhan, inked a player for longer than 3 years. The 2 3-year deals, DeSclafani, not great, and Tommy LaStella, here's $12 million, please go away.
I mean,
and if
they
you're still
offered this
and
deal.
on the
They
40
offered
years
this
thing,
deal.
like
They were
being
ready to
40 years
sign
old,
it.
we all agree. Like giving any player 13 years doesn't feel great. I don't care who it
Sure.
is. It could be
Sure.
Willie Mays in his
Nonsense,
prime.
yeah.
Right.
It
So
rarely
if that's
works.
the case, and that's how you know, how do you not have in your back pocket? All right, here's $275 for 8. Or $275 for 7. Like there was no pivot whatsoever. Once immediately seen it. So that I'm questioning the entire thing. You could sit here and argue, well, there's got to be something in the ankle. Okay, but if you still like the player and you're willing to give him 13 years, chop a little off and massively overpay.
And maybe they don't. We don't know what they saw on the scan.
Yeah.
And we don't know 7 years from now. Like you might be doing an apology. I hope we're all still here 7 years from now because Carlos Correa's career could be over for all we know. We have no clue what's on the scan. What I do know, based on the actions of Major League Baseball, is that it is something rather significant.
Well,
that's
again,
what I know.
David Sampson believes, and I know you guys, he rolls his eyes when I say this.
Yeah,
He
'cause he's a
believes,
scumbag.
he believes that, and he knows the inner
picked
workings of
the city
baseball.
of Miami for a stadium.
I know.
Picked them.
He says.
And then now he wants
But
to
you-
talk and
but you
throw
guys are
everybody under the
using his
bus.
quotes
He's a
today.
weasel.
Well, yes,
he's a weasel.
because I find him to be very interesting.
Tell
This is-
all David Sampson.
Fonte,
Let me
this
stay
is-
relevant. He's a
when you
weasel.
have mobsters, turning on other mobsters, they're all slime. Like that's how you get people to roll over and you get information. He was saying that the Mets went flying above the unspoken $300 million payroll rule because the Mets, being such big spenders, makes the Cardinals and the Dodgers and the Red Sox and the Yankees look cheap in comparison. And so what he was saying is that Major League Baseball put in the phone call after they came pivoting in, and it makes the Giants look bad, which they don't want to do. Major League Baseball needs the Giants to spend money and be competitive. That is something that is, I think we can all agree there.
Sure.
They came in and says, you need to make this a sticking point with the health thing because they hate Major League Baseball, the owners, the guaranteed deals. They want opt-outs. So what he is perceiving in this deal is going to get reworked. And if you remember, the Giants' original deal had no opt-outs. Manny Machado's deal recently does have an opt-out. He ends up this year. They want something in between where if he gets hurt, it automatically voids and you get 7 years with an opt-out instead of the full 13. And they think that they're going to use Cohen. Hey, you want to steal this guy? You want to go flying over the threshold? Then you need to be our guinea pig, and you need to be able to be the one to stick this in writing to that agent, Boris, who holds all the cards to the high high-priced free agents.
Right, so why would Boras do that? Like, I don't know that that's true or untrue. I have no idea. But why would Scott Boras be a party to that? That would be an
because
embarrassment.
Because he knows that Cohen will spend money with him year after year after year.
Potentially the most powerful man in baseball.
I know he is.
So, like, why would he do that? You know what I mean?
How come the Giants
it's
haven't really honored Brian Sabian? I know you guys are going to have him on tomorrow. But
I don't know. I don't know.
To stretch from 97 to 03, one of the best stretches of Giants baseball history. We know about the 3 World Series, 2010, 2012, 2014. And yet he slips out the door and he's going to be an advisor for the Yankees with Brian Cashman. Yet he has, like, the Giants look for reasons to celebrate something, whether it's Will Clark Day, Willoughby Covey Day, whatever you name it. The Giants will look to have a great, dude, they'll have pageantry over anything, right? How come Brian Sabian wasn't shown the respect that he deserves as being a great executive as we watch Farhan Zaidi kind of just slip and fall all over the place? Sabian, where's the love? Why is, again, they're quiet about this.
Feels like a different organization now than it was before when he was at the peak of his powers and Larry Baer was in charge and Peter McGowan was still doing what he was doing. And now it feels like this ownership, it feels like a completely different ownership to me from that. And I don't know the inner workings.
It is.
Yeah, and that's, you got Brian Sabian now.
Is it personal?
He'd rather go and work for the Yankees than gut it out and work for this organization.
Is it personal?
It feels that way because...
For Sabian or for the ownership?
Well,
what do you mean?
Probably both.
Yeah,
but I mean, for Sabian to say what he said publicly yesterday, and for those of you who missed it,
shocking.
Yeah, for him to say, I thought that I was going to be more involved, and it didn't work out that way. And so, we just kind of let this whole thing expire. That's a terrible look for the Giants organization. There's no two ways about that. And it's interesting that he would say that publicly. That lends me to believe that there is something emotional there in both directions, one direction.
His kid still lives out here and does work with a friend of ours, Craig.
I don't know.
And they're running real estate. He wanted to stay here.
It's interesting, though, because it hits a lot of people in a way. And I believe that if we go back to, let's say it was August, right? And you're in the middle of the season last year. If you had gone around the stadium at a Giants game and polled people and said, what is Brian Sabian doing with the organization right now? I think 9 out of 10 would have said he's not with the organization.
99 out of 100 even.
I would have said that.
Right.
Seriously. I would have said that.
Y'all didn't even know he was still technically with the organization, and then now we're ticked off that he's not with the organization. So that kind of made me laugh. But the fact that he said something publicly, Bonte, I'm with you, where it made you go, what's going on behind the scenes? And Dibs, to your point, this is another thing that has happened that I don't think people know. We're still talking about Larry Baer. Larry Baer is not one of the top 2 or 3 decision makers with this team anymore.
But that scares me, and I've been on that.
Me too.
Like the Greg Johnson
thing
inspires no confidence. Again, go back to the Buster Posey Zoom.
100% agree.
I came in here and everyone's like, "You're making judgments of." I'm like, dude, he doesn't look like a
Zoom.
My whole thing
was Posey not flown out.
My whole thing with this offseason was we're going to learn a thing or two about not Farhan. We're going to learn a thing or two about these owners. We've never seen this ownership have this kind of a moment.
Right.
And look at us now.
I know.
And the one thing you know about Larry Baer when he was the principal owner is that he was a diehard fan, orange and black to the bone, and he wanted to win. And I don't get the same sense of the current of the various Johnsons.
And be top dog. You know what I mean? In terms of I am in control. Everything flows through us in terms of the big 3.
Number one priority was winning. It feels like the number one priority now is protecting your assets. And that's just the way I'm perceiving it from the outside.
Saturday morning.
I appreciate it.
I love that.
That's great. It's a little throwback reference.
That hits you in a certain way, man. You turned red, you turned your head. Look at him.
Of all the GMs, to see what...
Shasky has a damn 5 for you.
FireBrianSabian.com and just the evolution of him. Is he the most underrated of all the great GMs that have been here in the Bay Area?
Man, you'd have to say probably. I mean, if you look at what he eventually was able to bring home, he presided over 3 World Series, and they did it the way that Farhan's trying to do it. They drafted all those guys, and then lo and behold, they turned into stars who won chips.
And think about how they flipped their philosophy from signing big free agents or making big trades at the deadline and having just stacked rosters, veteran players, to saying, you know what, post Bonds, we need to go through the draft. Let's get some pitching. We'll Find some hitters. We'll make trades, but they built through the draft. They switch philosophies, man. Bryce Sabian underappreciated, and he's been shown no love. That disturbs me.
Tomorrow,
That's the
10:30, Willard.
That's the frustrating thing is no matter who they sign, no matter what they do, until their farm system starts spitting out some players, it's not going to work.
Somebody needs to speak up from the Giants, whether it's Larry Bear, I don't care how much power he has, Farhan, and stop with the Zooms, please. Get some people over there at 24 Willie Mays Plaza. Let's hide behind the Zoom and pick up your comments there. Anybody want to ask a question, drop a question in the comments. That's a joke. Giants become a joke.